Italian Wine Podcast. Chin Chin with Italian Wine People.
Hi everybody! Italian Wine Podcast celebrates its 4th anniversary this year, and we all love the great content they put out every day. Chin Chin with Italian Wine People has become a big part of our day, and the team in Verona needs to feel our love. Producing the show is not easy, folks. Herding all those hosts, getting the interviews, dropping the clubhouse recordings, not to mention editing all the material. Let's give them a tangible fan hug with a contribution to all their costs. Head to ItalianWinePodcast.com and click donate to show your love.
Hello, this is the Italian Wine Podcast. My name is Monty Waldin. My guest today is Alessandro, who is a co-owner of the family-owned winery called Alessandro di Camporeale. So I'm going to ask, Anna, can you tell us a little bit about your family history?
Yes, this is a family company. Alessandro di Camporeale is a family company. We are grape growers for 4 generations. My great-grandfather was a grain grower. My grandfather, and then at the end of the 90s, my father and my 2 uncles, they had the dream to have their own cellar. So we started to build a cellar, and now the company is run by myself and my 2 cousins, both named Benedetto, because Benedetto was my grandfather's name. One is the winemaker and the other one is the marketing manager.
Okay, so what was your father's name and what was your paternal grandfather's name, just so we're clear?
Well, my father's name is Rosolino and my uncle's name is Antonino and Natale. And there is a repetition in name because my grandfather was Benedetto, such as my cousins, and my great-grandfather was Antonino, such as my uncle.
Perfect, okay. So your family started in the early 1900s?
Yes.
Okay, and how did that actually start? Was it just wine then, or were there other crops like animals, sheep, cheese?
No, the main culture was the viticulture and also some grain, wheat, and also some fruit trees. But the main business was the grape growing. But in the past, we used to sell our grapes to other companies. And when my grandfather passed away at the end of the 80s, as I told you, the 3 brothers, they had a dream to produce wine with their own grapes, but they started to make a very important process of renewing of the farm because, in Sicily in the past, the production was focused more on quantity than on quality. So little by little, they start to make the extirpation of the old vineyard. And they started to plan new one with different training system. Now we only have the Espalier training system with a sparred cordon for the red varieties and the Guyot for the white grapes. They introduced new international varieties such as Syrah. We choose for the production our first wine, and also Sauvignon Blanc, side by side to the indigenous wine like Catarratto, Grillo, and Nero d'Avola. We finished to build the cellar in 1999, and we started in 2000 with our first vintage. Grape grower for 4 generations, but we are pretty young winemakers since 2000.
Okay, so tell us about the actual terroir that you're in. You're in Camporeale,
yes,
which is in the Palermo province, and you're in the Belice Valley. What is
Valley?
What is the valley then? Is it rocky? Is it sandy?
Well, we are first of all, let me say an important thing about this area where we are, because yes, Camporeale is in the Palermo district, but we are very close to the Trapani and Agrigento districts. And one of the main features of our territory is that we are equidistant from the sea on 3 sides. north, Palermo direction, south, Sciacca in the Agrigento area, and west, Trapani. So we have a very good wind exposure. But at the same time, we are surrounded by, because we are on a hilly area, we are on the hills on a medium altitude of 450 meters above sea level, but we are surrounded by higher hills that defend us from the humidity and from the cold that comes from the sea. So we have a very good microclimate with a constant wind exposure, with temperatures not so high like on the coast, and with a very good range of temperature between night and day, which is very important for two reasons. First of all, because helps the fixing of the aromatic features of the grapes, and it also gives acidity to the grapes, which means acidity, freshness, elegance, and also a long life perspective for the wines.
I mean, how long has wine growing been in your area? Is it a recent thing, or does it go back to prehistory?
Grape growing is one of the oldest activity in this area. When I was a child, everything was, we were surrounded by grapes side by side with olive trees and some other culture. This is a very vocated area for viticulture, and we are within three different DOC appellation: the DOC Sicily, the biggest one in the island, the DOC Monreale, and the DOC Alcamo. We currently have the whole production as a DOC Sicily, but we are starting to produce some DOC Monreale wine starting from the 2019 vintage.
Okay, so Monreale, what does that name derive from?
Well, Monreale comes from, yes, Monreale comes from the small city of Monreale, which is located very close to Palermo, and which is very famous for the amazing Norman Dome. And the Church of Monreale was one of the richest one in Italy in the past. So the property of the Church of Monreale was very, very big. So the DOC Monreale area is pretty wide. Is an amazing territory featured by this hilly landscape, very, very vocated with for viticulture, and we choose the name Monreale, but without the vowel, so MNRL, for our crew of Syrah. We started to produce on 2016.
Yeah, Monreale means like the Campus Regales, no, the field worthy of a king.
Yes, it's like Monte Reale. Yes, it's like Camporeale. Yes.
Tell us about the. Is it important to talk about the Baglio? What is the Baglio?
The Baglio was the old court we have in our small town of Camporeale, because Camporeale was founded by the Greek around the 6th century before Christ, and then during the Arabic domination it became an important rural village. Then we have the Jesuiti, and there was a very rich colony of Jesuiti who built this amazing Baglio with two different courts, and as a coincidence is where my family, my father and also one of my two uncles live. We live in the Baglio of Camporeale.
So let's talk about the wines. Let's start with the whites. So you make a Catarratto, and it's called Benedetto. Did I say that right?
Yes, Benedetto Catarratto is the first white wine we produced back in 2005, but is not is not the one and only Catarratto wine. Benedetto stands for Benedetto. Benedetto means blessed, and was my grandfather's name and also my cousin's name. So it's a tribute to the family. And Benedetto Catarratto is a blend of grapes from 3 different vineyards of Catarratto with different age, altitude, and exposition to the sun. And is the white wine we produce in larger quantity. Is very fresh with a deep Mediterranean impact with, some citrus and fruity notes, some spicy, some white flower smell, with a very good acidity and with a bit of minerality. Catarratto is probably one of the most representative grape of this area, but until 25 years ago was almost completely unknown out of Sicily, because in the past was only used to produce bulk wines or for the production of Marsala wine, the fortified wine made with Catarratto, Grillo, producing in the Marsala city. And then we finally understood the big potential of this grape, a grape which has 3 different biotypes, because we have Catarratto common, the most cultivated all over the island, which is also the more resistant. Then we have lucido, shiny, and extra lucido, which is the less cultivated because it's very delicate. And in the last 10 years, we focused a lot on this grape, on Catarratto. So on 2015, we started with the production of cru from the oldest and highest vineyard of Catarratto, which is an extra lucido, an extra shiny Catarratto vineyard. And the wine is named Vigna di Mandranova, Catarratto Vigna di Mandranova. And on 2016, we also choose this grape for the production of our first sparkling wine, a Metodo Classico. We release after 36 months of aging sur lie and about 6 months of bottle aging after the gorgement.
Hey guys, this is a brief intermission to give a shout out to our new sponsor, Ferro Wine, the largest wine store in Italy since 1920. We are delighted to have them on board and thank them for their generous support and our new t-shirts. Find out more on ItalianWinePodcast.com. Now back to the show.
It was interesting when you were talking about the Catarratto beforehand, where you said you had it, that particular grape variety in family grape varieties, at different altitudes. So that, I assume, allows you a lot of flexibility in terms of how rich you want the wine to be, or acidity, etc.
Yes, for sure. As we are on the hills and we have vineyards located on different altitude, there is a great flexibility of results from one vineyard to the other, and in a wider perspective, probably this is one of the most fascinating things of winemaking in Sicily, because when we talk of a Sicilian wine, for example, a Sicilian wine made from an indigenous grape, such as Catarratto or Grillo, we always have to consider the area, the territory where this wine come from, because Sicily is a very big region, but in winemaking, we consider as a continent, because, we have hundreds of kilometers of coast, we have hills, we have mountains, we have a volcano, we have the Mount Etna. So there are so many different features from a micro territory to the other one. The wines of Sicily are like a mosaic, kaleidoscopic, because there are so many different features from one place to another.
Okay, let's talk about, it's a Nero d'Avola. Is it called Woman? Is that correct?
Nero d'Avola is, Nero d'Avola means black from Avola. And the name of our Nero d'Avola is Donna Ta, but it's not Donna like woman, is Don Nata. You know, in Sicily, we used to call Don the important guy in the family, like the important guy in the community also, like the priest or the padrino. Let's talk about Don Vito Corleone, which is probably the most famous Don all over the world. And Nata stands for Natale. Natale is Christmas and is my uncle's name. And my uncle Natale is the manager, the field manager. So all our employees in the field, both for joke but also for respect, they used to call him Don Nata, and we choose this funny nickname for our Nero d'Avola.
Perfect. And what would you drink that with if you were having a meal or something? What would you match that with?
The Nero d'Avola, well, Nero d'Avola is perfect to be paired with some meat dish, for example, for a barbecue. But our Nero d'Avola is very fresh with a very good acidity, some spicy. It's not featured by the over-mature fruit, almost jammy, which is, you know, these features are common to be found in many Nero d'Avola. So a very, very interesting pairing for Donata Nero d'Avola is a tuna fish, grilled tuna fish. I love it very much.
Really? Would that be freshly cooked or would it be cold?
Probably with both.
Alrighty. So next question. You make a grillo. Tell us about the grillo.
We consider Grillo as the son of Catarratto because for many years Grillo was considered like old indigenous Sicilian grape, but now it's finally demonstrated that Grillo is a crossing, an hybridation between Catarratto and Muscat or Zibibbo, and it was created for giving more aromaticity to the Marsala wine. Grillo is usually featured by a deep tropical impact, but here in Camporeale, at the altitude we are and with the kind of soil we have, we are able to obtain a very, very fresh and elegant Grillo with some white flowers smell that in some way can remind the Sauvignon Blanc, and with a very good minerality at the taste. So it's very elegant, very fresh, and is the perfect companion, in my opinion, for a pasta with sea urchins, which is one of my favorite dish.
Really? Excellent. Okay. What's the next wine we can talk about? You make a wine called, I don't know if I've got this right, is MLRL.
Yes, it's the Monreale. It's the crew of Syrah. We started to produce on 2006. We started our adventure in winemaking with Syrah grape, which is the most planted international variety in Sicily and especially in the Monreale area. And Syrah found here a very good condition for its growth and gives a very excellent results. The first Syrah wine we produced was Caid, which is still probably the flagship wine of our company. But starting from 2015, we focused on single vineyards wine because we were deeply convinced of the importance of the vineyard, the single vineyard the grape came from. So we started this work with the Cataratto Vigna di Mandranova, and on 2016 we started to make the separate bottling of wine obtained by the oldest Syrah vineyard, planted about 30 years ago. And we have this limited production because they are only 4,400 bottles per year, so a very small production of this wine, which ages for 15 months in French oak tonneau, and another year in bottle, at least 1 year in bottle before the releasing, which is very rich and complex, with spicy notes, with black fruits like cherries and also plums, and also a very rich and intense combination of cloves, licorice, tobacco, and chocolate. And we are still releasing the first vintage. I am very curious to know the evolution of this wine, to know how it will be in the next 10, 12 years. But we are very we deeply trust in this wine. We believe it can have a very good evolution in bottle.
Tell us about the one of the dishes that you recommend on your website for the Syrah or for the Syrah wines is it's called a falso magro. What's that?
Falso magro. Well, falso magro is the Italian name, which means false thin. In Sicilian dialect, we used to call bruciolone, and is a very big meat roll filled with cheese, with breadcrumbs, with ham, with boiled eggs. Then the recipe can change from a family to another. This is another very funny thing in Sicily. Everything changes from a place to another, from a family to another. And we used to cook for a couple of hours into the tomato sauce. So it's a very rich dish. Traditionally we used to prepare for the Christmas Eve dinner.
Okay, just to switch back to a white wine, you make a Sauvignon called Caid, and that's at about 330 meters above sea level on clay and sandy soil. Is that a very pungent Sauvignon, or is it a very kind of a less aggressively aromatic style of Sauvignon?
Is a Sauvignon more, in my opinion, more French style than North Italy. So is very elegant and not very aggressive. We bet on Sauvignon Blanc. On 2004, we decided to plant this grape in the most sandy part of the estate, with exposition to northwest. And we are very surprised of the result, because it's very varietal. Yes, it has some Mediterranean feature, but it doesn't seem a Sicilian wine, but Nordic, a French Sauvignon. Very recognizable and very varietal.
And what would you eat that with? What Sicilian dish would you have it with, like an antipasto or a main course?
With a Sauvignon Blanc. Well, one very good pairing for the Sauvignon Blanc, it can be some pasta with finocchi and sarde, with fennel, and sarde are fish, because the aromaticity of the fennel pairs very well with the green aromas of Sauvignon Blanc. Is a pairing I love very much.
Do you make a late harvest wine as well?
We have a late harvest of Syrah. We used to harvest normally Syrah on around September 15th. For the production of this wine, we used to leave the grapes on the vine for 30 days more. But we make a very special process because we used to pinch the stem, the link the grape to the vine with, electrician pinches just to crush without cutting it. So we stop the lymphatic circle and the grapes start to dry very slowly, but they remains exposed to the range of temperature between night and day, to the wind, to the sun during the morning. So we have a very full concentration of aromas. And when we finally pick the grapes in the second half of September, sometimes also in October, they are almost completely dry. They look like raisins. So they are very rich in sugar. And when the fermentation, the alcoholic fermentation starts to preserve some residual sugar, we used to stop the fermentation with cold temperature after about 7 days. So we have a balancing between alcohol content and sugar, the residual sugar. And then we make a very, very quick aging in barrel and a few months of aging in bottle. And what we have is a wine with a beautiful, deep ruby red color, very rich and concentrated, with great intensity on the nose. But the most surprising feature is probably the taste, because it's sweet, but is not too much sweet, it's not jammy. It has a very good acidity which balances the sweetness, so it's very fresh, and is a perfect companion for typical Sicilian desserts like cannoli or cassata, which are both with ricotta cream. But I love very much with some good cheese, like aged pecorino cheese, but also with goat cheese.
Goat cheese. Nice. Okay. Okay, final wine. You make a traditional method sparkling wine, metodo classico. This is from which grapes is that made from?
Our metodo classico is made from Catarratto extralucido grapes from the same vineyard of Catarratto Vigna di Mandranova. This vineyard, which is the oldest, was planted in 1989, and also the highest one, is divided into two different parts. The one on the top of the hill, in which we have a faster maturation, and the other one on the bottom, when the grapes ripes more slowly, so we have more acidity and less sugar content. So we use the part from the upper side for the Catarratto Vigna di Mandranova, and the grapes from the bottom part from the Metodo Classico. We make aging sur lit for 3 years, 36 months, and after the gorgement, we make the aging for about 6 months before the releasing, and is a limited production, also about 4,000 bottles per year. We currently are working with the second vintage, the 2017, and it has a very good success. It's a wine we released during the the pandemic period and was the first sparkling wine for our company. So we were very thrilled. We have many doubts about this wine, but everybody loved this wine. Is very complex with nose with spicy notes of saffron, nutmeg, some white pepper. Then yes, we have the bread, the pastry, the breadcrumbs notes due to the aging surly, with a very persistent and subtle perlage, perfect to pair with many dishes of crustacea like shrimp or lobster. Very good for this kind of dishes.
Nice way. That's a very nice way to end, with a sparkling wine and the taste in your brain anyway of some lovely food. Just want to say thanks very much, Alessandro, from Alessandro di Camporeale. Thanks for going into such detail about the terroirs that you have and the great varieties you have and the wines that you make. Also, the food suggestions you've given us as well have been pretty spectacular. If I could get on a plane and go to Sicily right now, I would.
I will wait for you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Monty. It was a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Really nice interview.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.